Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Last week I came to you live from a beautiful, hot, sunny beach, and I am now in the middle of Central Park in what they're calling a polar vortex. It's this cold front that's coming through, and we're bearing the brunt of it in New York, and I'm back with the cold. But do not fret, MJE is rocking this weekend, Friday night, on our east side. Rabbi Avi Heller, I'll be speaking over there at KJ. Shabbat morning, come and hear an important talk that I'm going to be giving about, sounds a little boring, but it's actually really interesting, jurisprudence. Yeah, I'm a lawyer and I'm proud of it. Jurisprudence is all about the law. And I don't know how many of us realize that this week's Parsha, Parshat Mishpatim, that's hard moving my mouth, it's cold. Parshat Mishpatim is the Parsha that speaks about all of the laws of contracts, of property, of torts, of negligence, all of the stuff that we are used to in our Western civilization. With the laws come from the Torah, many of which are found in this week's Parsha. My ox gores your ox, my car smashes into yours, negligence, torts, property, contracts, it's all here. Very important to remember that Judaism is not simply a religion of rituals. It's not simply you call the rabbi when you want to get married, God forbid somebody dies, you got the life cycle going on. Of course that's part of Judaism, the Sabbath, Yom Kippur, but there's another whole part of Judaism which is called life. How do we live our everyday lives? How, when we have a legal dispute, a property line dispute with our neighbor, how do we, if I have a property line dispute with my next door neighbor, I don't just push the bush back, I call and I have to maybe even take him to court. But what are the laws? In this week's Parsha, Ve'ele HaMishpatim, and these are the laws. The first letter, Vav, Rashi, the great biblical commentator, tells us it's connecting us with the tail end of last week's Parsha. The tail end of last week's Parsha had to do with the altar, the Mizbeach. And just like nobody would imagine that the altar, the rules and instructions regarding sacrifices and the altar were from Sinai, were given by God at Sinai as part of the giving of the Torah, so too we should never think that all the laws governing jurisprudence, negligence, torts, contracts, property, all of those laws also come from the Torah. Judaism is not simply a system of rituals guiding our life cycles. Judaism is about our very daily lives. And our daily lives involve disputes and issues that we get in with other people. And we should feel very proud that we have given the world these laws and the whole legal system that the Western world continues to rely on. There are 3 tractates in the Talmud, Baba Batra, Bava Metzia, and Bava Kama, that deals with all of these different rules and laws. And that's what many of the yeshiva students are studying in learning. And that's something we should remember, that when we have a problem with our neighbor, we consult the Torah. We don't just consult the Torah on how to behave on Yom Kippur or how to get married under the chuppah. Those are important too. It's also the everyday stuff. And you should know, you're probably thinking, well, we have the secular law for that. The secular law, a lot of the secular laws, particularly here in the United States and the Western world, come from the Torah, particularly this week's Parsha, Parshat Mishpatim. Keep that in mind, because our relationship is not only with Hashem vertically, but it's also with our fellow human being, and taking these laws from God and applying it to everywhere and anywhere in our everyday lives. Shabbat Shalom, His cold.